all. Hi, Anil. Thanks for
Hi, Nupur.
joining the session today. Anil, you want to introduce yourself a bit?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Anil Gupta. I'm working with one of the Big Four as a director in transfer pricing, and I'm really happy to help you guys with regard to transfer pricing, career in transfer pricing especially, and I would love to help you out. Yeah, thank you, Nupur.
Thanks, Anil. And I am Nupur. I am currently working in international tax and transfer pricing profile and have been working in international tax domain from quite some time. We receive a lot of questions around career in transfer pricing, especially the global perspective or global opportunities around transfer pricing domain. And hence, we thought of doing this session. Anil, what would you say? What is transfer pricing and what fascinated you in this area?
Thanks, Nupur, for asking this question. See, transfer pricing is basically if you have a related party transaction within a group, that's where the TP concept will apply. So, it's basically if there is an influence and that influence has impact on your profitability or your pricing, that's how you have to justify that whether you are behaving in a similar manner if you are interacting with a third party. So that's all about the transfer pricing actually. And how I landed into transfer pricing, to be honest, that I started my career in international tax, and then I was doing a lot of work. But every time when it comes to P attribution, royalty pricing, or some uh, pricing related to the services or goods, that's where every time we were referring this work to TPT. That's how I got fascinated that I'm missing some of the leg in international tax. If I would go into transfer pricing, at least I can cover the whole gamut of international tax, including TP. And when I moved to TP, those unanswered questions were solved. That I was doing P attribution, I was doing a benchmarking analysis, I was reviewing the supply chain, how the multinational companies work. I got more insight and information on basically that who does what, how we can allocate the profit, accurate profit among the multinational companies, depending on the functional risk and profile. So that was my journey in transfer pricing, and it's quite well getting into each industry and their supply chain. Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, even the value chain transfer pricing is not just about taxation, it's about finance or the entire business economics and things around that. So, transfer pricing does provide a whole gamut of good understanding of the business model in entirety. Coming to next question, a lot of students have questions around how should they start their career in transfer pricing. What do you think? What would you have in mind around this question? Is it that people ask this question that it is very niche area to be adopted? Is it fruitful to go in this area because in future they might face challenges in switching back to another field if they don't like the role? So, what would be your advice or your thoughts around this point?
To be honest, it's a personal choice whether you want to be part of crowd or you want to be a part of niche people, wherein that you are showing your expertise. See, I would say that getting into transfer pricing, it looks tough, but once you get into that, your demand would be always there, whether in India or anywhere in the world. Whether so, opportunities are ample. It's just that you have to get into this one, and I think it's not I think there's a misconception that only CAs or lawyer can get into this transfer pricing. No, that is not right. Anyone who has a mindset of uh, like economics or have a knowledge of international tax, or let's say the finance background, they can get into a transfer pricing. So it's open for all MBAs, lawyers, CAs, ACCS, and all those people. And it's just that you have to let's say if you have done an internship training, uh, try to get into uh, engage with a project wherein the TP is involved. If you can't get that opportunity, at least when we interview or hire anyone, we see that whether he has that business background or finance mindset, and then whether he has zeal to learn. That is one thing we always. So at least do your homework, read the basic, what is TP and all that, probably that's where you can get an interview call from any big four, or let's say any mid-sized firm. Yeah.
Yeah, truly, I would agree that in transfer pricing, also finding global opportunities is easy, much easier vis-a-vis, say, international taxation. Say in Europe, every country has their laws in local languages, and then finding opportunities in international tax is more difficult. While I'm not saying it's completely impossible, but finding career opportunities in transfer pricing or switching in transfer pricing is much easier, as we have seen in the past also multiple people moving to UK or different part of Europe, for that matter, also in this profile. And even in higher roles, companies are not stringent in taking people from outside the country for transfer pricing profile, because the more people have experience, the more business acumen they bring in, and that's what one looks also in transfer pricing arena. Coming to my next question, you pointed out about the interview. So somebody has asked the question that what would be typical interview question to get into transfer pricing role. So maybe probably you are taking a lot of interviews, so you can throw some interview questions for our audience.
Yeah, sure. I think it's depend that which level you're going for. So when we look for any fresher for any TP role, uh, even if you refer my earlier answer, that I always say that have that basic knowledge of transfer pricing. Sometimes what happened that when we ask the candidate, have you did your homework? What is TP? Why the whole world is so concerned about the transfer pricing? uh, Here and there, like you will see that everywhere in Australia, this TP case is happening, US, this TP case is happening. So whenever we interview the fresher, we just wanted to whether he has that basic knowledge of transfer pricing. So uh, in terms of question, so sometimes we ask, okay, uh, in transfer pricing, who's the most regulatory bodies like OECD and all that? Have you read the country profile in OECD? What is your local legislation say about the transfer pricing? So at least the basic model, what are the basic model in transfer pricing? What are the 5 methods in transfer pricing? What do you mean by functional and risk analysis? What is the risk profile of the company? So we just ask this basic question, and then some other finance related question. What do you mean by operating profit? Okay, whether the depreciation is a cash item or non-cash item, or what are the component of the profit and loss account. Let's say if I ask you that how you're going to check that whether that company is a more assets intense company, surely you should know that how to read the fixed asset schedule of that company. So these are the basic question we look for. We don't ask a very technical question, what is the supply chain, value chain, and all those things. At least any people from the finance background, they should have the basic knowledge of finance, accounting, and more or less about the business side. So at least if you get all things in order and have that confidence, surely you will through into that interview. Yeah, that's my thought process.
Yeah, that's for interview at initial level of the career. I would say what you mentioned completely makes sense, and even people check this ratio because those are required for the benchmarking purposes. But as you advance into the career, if somebody at higher level is willing to move from one position, say somebody who have worked in international tax for say, let's take an example, 5 years, and the person has good knowledge of all the international tax topics and even the transfer pricing. So I think at that level, for moving into the transfer pricing role, the person would not be willing to start from the initial level, no? So in that case, the question may differ. That's my understanding. What is the value chain? How do you structure the value chain of the company? Say there could be some case studies that if some restructuring transaction is to be done, what transfer pricing issues you will face in this transaction. Somebody from one company is to be moved to another country, what could be the transfer pricing issues related to that? Or there could be some IP movement related case studies, or could be any other case studies that people may be given to solve and or give opinion on.
Yeah. See, you have to broaden your mindset and also the experience and so you don't have to restrict yourself to your home country, or let's say if I'm working in India, so you should have the background that, let's say if you're putting distribution company in Singapore, what are the laws there, what are the benefits there. It could be both. Don't always look for a tax perspective, look from economic perspective that what benefit that country is going to give you. Why should I place the manufacturing in Malaysia or let's say Vietnam and Cambodia, any other location? Why all regional office in Singapore or let's say IP companies mostly in US or Europe? So these the you have to understand the country dynamics as well as the benefit of putting those uh, operating companies into those direction. Yeah.
Yeah, along with other sort of analysis, the entire gamut around BEPS, different action plans of BEPS, prominently interest limitation deduction rules, or other sort of such rules which may be relevant in the specific case. Coming to the next question, which people have asked, what opportunities do you see in transfer pricing in terms of different role, whether a person is restricted only to consulting role, or is it like there are a lot of industry roles also floating in this market? There could be people can go into academics or could also switch to policy roles. So what would be your suggestion or what would be your thoughts around this?
See, it's a personal choice, I would say that, but opportunities are for even consulting, let's say policy side, like you can become a officer in ATO, you can become officer in Canada. Okay, so let's say if you know the TP, you can do your PhD, you can do research in transfer pricing, and I think post BEPS, in-house role for transfer pricing people surely would be increased, that people who are having a well versed with international tax and TP, especially that after the BIPS action plan, pillar 1, pillar 2, those people would be highly regarded and they would be in demand that they have both the experience. So at least you can look through both the side. If one person knows only the international tax, probably he may not look through from a TP angle. But if let's say purely TP, he may not know the international tax angle, so it would be good for our people. So there would be an opportunity. There's no question on that one. It's just that what is your choice and where you want to put more of your effort. Whether you want to put in academic side, yes, do PhD, do LLM, go and teach people in the unis or colleges. Second one is, let's say, if you want challenge every day, go and join a consulting firm, any big four. Or let's say if you want to go for a policy side, yes, surely there would be an opportunity that you can draft policies, you can join UNPP or OECD. I think every time I see that a lot of job openings happen in OECD and all that. Okay, we are looking for a research fellow and all those people. Even so, you can make that. I think for TP people, I think I would not say there is a restriction actually. It's your personal choice.
Yeah, and I think the way the transactions are evolving these days, the way companies have globalized, they have set up operations around the world to achieve economies of scale. A lot of more subsidiaries are coming around. Then there is another whole gamut of pillar 1 when not sure when it comes along, but when it comes along, it brings another host of transfer pricing challenges. So indeed, there are a lot of loan transaction or other sort of financing transaction between group, which entail a lot of transfer pricing issues. Even transfer pricing is not is very relevant for treasury people in the organization. So treasury people are too much interested in knowing about the transfer pricing topics too.
Yeah. It's a true post-COVID. I think cash is the king, and also that there's a lot of pressure on the treasury people that they have to manage both external borrowing as well as the cash, in-house cash. I think that's what I'm saying is every day we see that TP is impacting, and they can, if let's say you fix the TP thing, I think probably you can do a right allocation of profit depending on the functional and risk profile, and you can basically gain benefit in terms of operation as well as managing your taxes.
Yeah. Justifying a transaction becomes easier. So, like you said about the profit allocation, so even in from say international tax perspective, we do permanent tax permanent establishment analysis. Even if there is a permanent establishment in a country, and if we say that what we have done from transfer pricing perspective is correct and the allocation is correct, then there cannot be, even if contested that there is a permanent establishment, there cannot be further allocation.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's true. So these are those complex things that remember that in the starting I said that I was not getting answer when I was working in international, purely international tax. And because of TP, now I can see both sides. So yeah.
Yeah, and lot is happening around tax transparency also, and in that limb also transfer pricing plays a huge role. Country by country reporting public, and many countries are following or is coming around with laws for public CBCR. So with the great emphasis on ESG topic, transfer pricing is becoming more prominent topic in terms of transparency also.
See, if you are aiming for a tax role, correct, or if you are aiming for a regional tax side or let's say global tax side, probably TP will add value. Okay, if you know TP, otherwise like every time there's something lacking. So if you know TP is actually a value added advantage for you. Basically, it's a more benefit, add more weight to your profile, and more other perspective is that from a commercial side or business side is something that you can look at when you are developing a career in tax.
Yeah, I could completely agree with that point. And I have heard challenges from some people around that when they enter, they have to do a lot of documentation stuff, which may not be that challenging in initial stages of career. What advice you would have for them? Like, I have heard this complaints that no, it's a lot of documentation work. We need to do something more mental exercise. It doesn't entail much of mental exercise, and TP is just about compliance, compliance, compliance. So, what would you say?
I would agree with that. Like at the starting age of my career, that life, I have to do a lot of benchmarking analysis. I have to do lots of TP, but don't take this one as a burden. Okay, why? Because if your basic are not correct, then probably at when you are doing advanced work or let's say more complex works, probably like just take an example of APA. Okay, if you don't know how to do a benchmarking analysis or select the right comparable companies, probably that is one thing uh, that will create a lot of problem. Okay, so don't get disheartened by that. I have to do a lot of TP documentation or benchmarking analysis. Have thorough understanding that yes, those search process are, to be honest, is boring. But yeah, I think if you spend 3 years and you get to know that okay, how the TP works, how we select the comparable companies, what quantitative and qualitative filter we apply, why we'll apply. That is more important. That even people know that okay, this quantitative filter I'm applying, but they don't know the logic why we are applying those qualitative or quantitative filter. Okay, then how I can link risk profile, or let's say what risk I'm taking, then how can I link that risk to with the comparable companies audited accounts. Probably that is one thing that you have to be open your eyes, is not just a selecting of comparable companies. When we say that the comparable company should also be a functionally comparable, it means a lot that you have to do research, which industry they are working, what is working well for them, whether IP is working well. How you can find out? Probably you have to read the website of the company, audited accounts in detail. If not, then you have to go on the global website. So it's, I would say, not entirely boring, but yeah, it's a part and parcel of TP life cycle. I would say TP career. So it has to be seen as a important pillar of the starting of the TP. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with the way technology is advancing, eventually, it's my feeling that in the coming years,
Yeah, yeah,
we
sure,
will
sure.
see less and less of this work being done
Correct.
manually, and the way things are coming, and the way we see different players working on the documentation side. Yes, I think this will be reduced in the coming years, and even Big Four may be willing to may go for some specific software where they make people do less of compliance work and focus more on strategic role.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. See, that's how it works. That see, even let's say if databases will do the compliance work, they will do a TP report and all that. Ultimately, you have to review, correct? And if you have to review, then you can't say that okay, I have not analyzed the function analysis, and you are writing something which is not accurate according to what actually they are doing. So probably those things databases cannot understand, correct? So being as a human being, you have to review their agreement. You have to find out that okay, if it is a limited risk distributor, what is written in the agreement, whether that company is taking the inventory risk, database cannot identify it, correct? And then what are those activity distributor companies doing in terms of function or risk analysis? Probably. So that's where I'm saying that uh, entirely it will not replace the work, but yeah, little bit burden that the initial the database universe, or let's say the search for comparable companies, it would be surely reduced.
Yeah,
But
I would agree.
yeah,
Yeah, a specific question like interviewing people and then identifying the risk profile. Yes, these all things cannot go, and you have to interview and check the profile of individual person to analyze certain things in greater detail. Also, people have questions around the resources available for building career in transfer pricing. Support somebody like say a student who just graduated want to learn more about transfer pricing, and he or she may not be having a specific transfer pricing module in law school or other say MBA school. So what would be your advice? How should one go about it?
see, it's not compulsory that you need law degree or CA degree. Okay,
Yeah.
even if let's say you have a postgraduate degree in economics, or let's say you have a finance degree, whether MBA, you can start your career in transfer pricing. I have not seen actually any limitation that people who are from non CA's background, they cannot do a TP or law background. I think you can do, probably that it's just that you need to have open your mindset that at least about the industry. Like even if let's say in people from MBA in finance, surely they would have learned the finance into while doing their MBA. So I don't see that there's a restriction. And even outside the world, let's say people hire MBA. I have seen so many partners, they are from MBA background. And let's say if you want to do more enhanced, I think probably MBA plus LLB, that could be another best option. That if you do that, I think it's a good combination. So at least you have finance background plus legal mindset. Then at least you can go on a transfer pricing controversy. That is another niche area, and yeah, you can again handle the M&A and all those things. So at least you can utilize your law degree into those. So I think there's no restriction that non-CAs cannot come into the transfer pricing.
Yeah, the question, Anil, yeah, that is clear. That I would also agree, and I have seen many people around such profile who are not from CA or law background and still excelling well in transfer pricing arena. The question was more around the resources which people should use to enhance their knowledge,
Yeah, sure.
or
Okay.
somebody wanting to join the field, how they can start. Suppose I'm just taking my example. When I started my career, I started with a book reading more about transfer pricing, one of the CTC compendium books. I started reading all the articles, and that's how I started my journey in international taxation. So what would you say from
Sure.
transfer pricing perspective? And also somebody who is already working in transfer pricing for some years, how can they excel their knowledge, or if they want to have some better degrees apart from LLM in international taxation, which we even discussed in one of our previous sessions, what other alternatives do you think people can have for specifically
Okay.
for transfer pricing arena?
So let's say if you want to gain the basic knowledge into the transfer pricing, or let's say advanced level knowledge into transfer pricing, go with so let's say if you are in India, if you are in Malaysia or Singapore, read the local rule first. What is their TP regulation? Okay. Once you read, so always start from where you are living. If let's say India, read the TP rules and regulation in India, then at least read the OECD guidelines, then UN guidelines on transfer pricing. More or less, IMF also, World Bank also publishes guidelines on the transfer pricing, how to select the comparable companies, what are the TP concept. They publish. There are so many webinars happening on the basics of transfer pricing. You can get ample channels on the YouTube. You can get the basic thing. So once you get these basic knowledge, I think then probably you can go for a higher courses like uh, Bombay Chartered Accounting Society also have a proper course on the transfer pricing. Then Chamber of Tax Consultant also have a course on transfer pricing. So I think there are so many courses available in the public domain. Even the paid channels also, you can subscribe those channels and get knowledge into the transfer pricing. In terms of when you are saying that, let's say apart from these basic, what other like degree they can go for edit? I think uh, advanced diploma in international tax. There's the TP module, and then they can also there are so many cases like WU. They also run basic and advanced transfer pricing course. Then IBFT also have transfer pricing course. Let's say if you want to go and enhance more knowledge into transfer pricing. So these are
Yeah.
the courses and certificate you can do, and I think you can gain the advanced knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think from Indian student perspective, when it comes to IBFT or VU courses or Vienna University courses, those tends to be bit on more costlier side, and maybe they are not that much willing to go for it. But ADIT is a good solution. ADIT gives is now a good recognized degree
Yes.
around worldwide, apart from LLM. So going with ADIT gives additional credential also in terms of degree also to your profile, which is well recognized in different countries. So yeah, that could be an option. And in terms of tax controversy, you touched upon the point of tax controversy. Many lawyers have this question that they just want to go into the tax controversy side of the transfer pricing and more jump into tax litigation from the very initial days. What advice you would have for them?
Like TP controversy is like not India, that every month you are seeing so many cases going into transfer pricing. So probably that yes, you can go in transfer pricing controversy. The condition is that you should have that you have done the you have those knowledge on a transfer pricing, okay, and then probably if you know the full spectrum of the transfer pricing, probably you can go for a transfer pricing controversy. Like in India, yes, there are lots of chances for if let's say you're for lawyer, you have those cases in transfer pricing, probably you can represent. But if to be honest with you, if I like more matured or advanced countries, it's not that each and every cases goes to the court unless and there are so many complex things are involved. You want to do TP controversy, but yeah, it depends on which country or location you are in, and then how matured is your jurisdiction with regard to the transfer pricing controversy.
But what advice would you give to somebody who's looking into making career in tax transfer pricing controversy side?
Yeah, I think then work in a any big four which have more of controversy work. Okay, work with a partner who has a lot of controversy work, gain the knowledge, and probably that is only one way, because it's not that every firm or the smaller firm had those controversy work. Again, I say that it depends that which big four or which practice you are in. Yeah.
And that question I get often, that how to identify those persons. Suppose I have identified my niche that I want to do transfer pricing controversy or say tax controversy. Now, how do I know that I should reach out to that person? And how do I know that person will take me? Right? These are
Follow the LinkedIn. You see that it's very like for me, like when I was starting my career, like this is one thing that because I was from law background, and then I was doing because my dad is a lawyer, so that's how I was more fascinated about the controversy, and then I identify that in my location who are the best people into the controversy. So I put my CV into those companies, and I during my interview I portrayed that I have those law background experience, or let's say knowledge or zeal to go into controversy side. That's how I get into controversy field actually. Yeah. But yeah, you have to showcase those skill set during the interview, or because not everyone get chance to work into controversy side.
yeah, but how to build the profile in such a way that those people are attracted to your profile?
Read case laws. That is one thing. There's a no exception. See, that's where I'm saying you have to know what are the case laws. Okay, what are the legal side? Because it's not that TP controversies, because there are 2 3 segments. Whether you want to go controversy management or dispute avoidance. So again, which field you want to work, then at least you know that what are the option available. And reading is the case law, like what I said, that I was always fascinated of reading the case law. Not I haven't restricted myself only to the India, but like other location also I used to read all the case law. So that's how I build my the career in controversies.
Yeah, that is helpful, definitely. And that reading case laws is not only help from controversy side, it's helpful from advisory side or any side. But the question that often comes is that I not somebody in this session has raised, but I heard that question, or people have asked me that question, that if we focus more on advisory side, and now if we want to move to litigation side, law firms are a bit hesitant in taking, because they say that the profile is more on advisory side and not on litigation side.
Nupur, that's where I said that, let's say if you want to go law firm, okay, they may not have 100% cases for transfer pricing controls. Not every case. So it's so you have to balance it out, because I know some of my friends, they are working in a law firm, but they are handling both the cases like international tax and transfer pricing. So it's a mix and match. This is one thing that you have to live with it. Okay, there's a no one firm all over the world that they only do TP controversy. No, because that's where I'm saying that if you are saying that no, I will only work in a TP controversy, may not work in a that way. So you have to mix match, like sometime you are doing other cases and then you are gaining the TP controversy work. And I think this is one limitation that you have to live with it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, I would agree. And would you suggest somebody who is starting career to be bit on more writing side also of the profession? Is this something that adds plus point in the profile? What do you think around this point?
Surely, I think this is one thing that if you want to come into TP and if you want to do advisory or let's say litigation, you have to write a lot. So this is one thing that there's no question or flexibility given to you that you have to be good at writing, whether you are doing advisory piece of work or controversy. And then surely, like if you're writing articles on transfer pricing, surely it will add weightage to your profile that you are known into market, that you know TP very well, and it also creates your own brand in the market.
And that is very relevant in today's age. We have discussed Anil on this point earlier also, I think. Yeah, I would let other people ask question. If somebody has question, please feel free to ask question, or you can put the question on the chat box also.
So we have covered all the participant question, Nupur, correct?
Almost all. Just one specific question: how to get into transfer pricing role in Malaysia?
Oh,
probably you are the best. I should say that reach out to Anil and he'll get you into some roles.
Sure. Send me your CV.
Yeah.
We'll take that question at the last year.
Yeah. This is one question that also we have got. We've covered almost all the question. If somebody else have some question, they can put down on chat.
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you, Anil and for this wonderful session. So my question to Anil would be like, what could be the added skill set as a fresher to get a job into TP? Like a person who has done their master degree, like for say I'm doing my master degree, so what would be the skill set required for my easy job entry into TP?
Anil, you can start, or Pooja. Let Anil answer, then I'll add to it. And we have Sushant also. Sushant can add a lot of value to your question. So yes, I'll let two experts speak and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, I think Pooja, thanks for asking this.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, I think Pooja, that one is surely you need analytical skill set. That one is given for TP, because you have to read a lot of accounts, financial statement, or let's say agreement, or let's say you have to talk to the people for a functional and risk interviews. And you should be, I would not say that best in number crunching, no. Okay, so at least you know that how to read the entire financial account. So at least when you are doing benchmarking analysis, you can get those right set of comparable companies. And reading habits, because you have to read a lot for transfer pricing. It's not only, let's say you are in India, so you cannot restrict yourself only to the India rules and regulation. You have to read what other countries, even like any given situation, that if we can't find answer in India, then we read in Australia, okay, what is in TP in Australia, like what they are saying, and then UK, Canada, anywhere. So at least those reading habits would add advantage into getting into the transfer pricing. And again, I said that if you do your basic check, like reading OECD guidelines or UN, or let's say basic, what is the transfer pricing, probably you can get that opportunity. Rest Nupur and Suchit can add if let's say I am missing anything. Yeah.
Sushant can add probably. Sushant, you want to add anything?
So maybe I'd just probably ask Pooja as to what is the current area of discipline that you have currently, or that you're specializing in, because it may be uh, it may be, the discussion then can be a little more focused around that than making it very broad, because already Anil's covered some of the specific attributes.
Okay, so my I'm doing my master's in my international business.
And she's based out in Malaysia, Suchint.
Yes.
And she is
So
open
did
to
you
move to India.
did you say international business?
Yeah.
Yeah, international business, Sunchit.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think really, one of the things that transfer pricing is that it's about the art of storytelling. So if you're a good storyteller, then you're a good TP professional. Uh, and I think that that's the reason why you see a lot of diversity in the kind of people who join this space. It's not limited to accounting. It's not limited to economists. But I think at the core, why I say storytelling is because it's ultimately a business centric subject as opposed to uh, a pure tax space, and therefore the closer you are to being able to understand the economic implications of business, I think those will hold you in good stead. So when you do your international business, if you still have a choice of some of the optional subjects, then take up subjects like economics and taxation and financial analysis. I think these would be, and in fact, even industry elements around competition or Porter's five forces. These are types of subjects that I think would serve you to develop some skills around the subject. But otherwise, I don't think that there is one set of skills that is that has to be followed. It's a very multidisciplinary space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agree.
And if even Pooja, if it is not the case that you have the possibility of optional subject like the specific areas which Suchin mentioned, you will have different course provider, short-term course provider on those. Like one is CFI, Corporate Finance Institute, or such sort of places where you can find a lot of finance courses, lot of courses around financial modeling. Those all things will also help if you can add to your profile. Neeraj, do you have any question? Because you did had some question when we spoke last.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, Neeraj.
Hi. Hi. So, yeah, my question was I am specifically interested more in the controversy part. So, I wanted to know if there is a way to build a career mainly based in controversy rather than the entire gamut of services.
Yeah. Suchint and Anil can answer this question better. Suchint, do you have any comment? Because I think you are the best person and the most experienced person in transfer pricing, or at least from whom I learned most of the transfer pricing.
Yeah.
No, thanks for all of that. No, I think we're all studying TP at different points in the curve, and it's all a continuous process. But let me just say that, see, controversy in the transfer pricing area has three elements. One is dispute prevention, which is through APAs. The second is addressing audits, which is concurrent. And I'm not for a moment going into compliance. I'm just speaking of how you deal with controversy at different stages. So prevention, concurrent audits, and then a dispute resolution, which is essentially after a dispute has arisen, how do you untangle the dispute? Now, when you speak of saying that I therefore want to enter into the controversy domain, Neeraj, I think it could be everything and anything from dispute prevention, which is it takes the forms of advanced pricing agreements, all the way up to addressing matters in the court or through the mutual agreement procedure, which are again a blend of multilateral or bilateral processes. Now, I think the one thing that you do have to be mindful about is that within the tax office, you are able to achieve outcomes that pertain to dispute prevention, audit, and to some extent dispute resolution in the form of MAP. Whereas in the court, you're able to achieve outcomes arising out of litigation. So the question is that where is your playground? Is your playground going to be in the tax office? In which case you would focus on APAs, audits, and MAPs? Or is your playground going to be at the court level, in which case you will focus on uh, typically litigation and appeal procedures? So why I say that you should focus on one of the two is because most of the time I don't see people who do work in the tax office as being specialists in the court, because in the court you normally have lawyers who are very seasoned professionals who argue in front of benches on an ongoing basis, whereas manner in which you deal with the tax office in APA or in audits are more about field dealings and not about so much about legal principles being sort of blended with economic principles. So it's more practical at the tax office level. It's more legal at the court level. So I would probably say that focus on one of the two, and for that pick up the experience that you need. Typically, law firms are very good with the dispute resolution piece, which is normally in the courts. And firms like the Big Four are typically very good with dispute prevention and MAP and audits.
Yeah. Agree.
And if you go with Big Four, there will always be a bit of compliance limit. It's not that you all the assignment will be around litigation or supporting the senior counsel around different matters. But yes, in case somebody goes to law firm, then the possibility is that from day one or after a few days, you will be involved in more on litigation side itself and not on the compliance side. But which is better in your viewpoint, Anil and Sachin?
See, again, like Suchinda has rightly said that it's your choice that where you want to play. If you ask me, really, that most of the time, like matters in the court, surely you will gain a lot of fight is always on a even especially in TP, you see that it's not so much legal thing is involved. It's more of fact based, or let's say unless and until it's a question of law, it goes to High Court or Supreme Court. But APA is one thing, and MAP, that is especially in APA, that you have to be well versed with TP rules and regulation, and also that business side, because you are agreeing to a sum of principle with the tax authorities for next 5 years. So that's where I would say that I'm not saying that litigation is not good. Yeah, it both has different skill set and merits. That, but I would prefer that APA is more in terms of learning wise. Yes, APA is a good thing, but again, at the same side, that if you are like what Sunchit has said, if you are handling audit, and probably if you are doing both together, like TP inquiry, and then it goes up, probably you will learn both the processes, like how you're defending your things in the court. Yeah. So I would say that.
Yeah, I would agree. Just an additional question to help people around more. So if somebody has both option to work in Big Four and law firm, and the person want to build career more on litigation side, so what would you advise? Is staying with Big Four a good option in initial year, or from initial days only the person should jump into law firm?
See, again, I'm saying you start with, so you will get more of compliance work than advisory work. You have to learn more of TP, correct? So if let's say you are going into law firm, probably you will always see the controversy side, correct? What is the operational thing you will not see in law firm? Probably the Big Four, the variety of work and the industry you will cover, probably you may not get over there. So always don't restrict yourself. Go with a wider industry, wider exposure, and once you get that, and then handle a lot of variety of cases in Big Four, and then probably if you see that, oh, I have learned a lot of TP like inquiries and all that, and then I want to go for a controversy side at a court level, then probably you can, because you have to fix the basic first, correct? Then only you can argue the cases into the court. So that's where your wider experience or exposure would give you a value added. It's not necessary that even when we are doing a TP controversy, even ITAT, or let's say, it's always, if we can't find anything, we always go to other case law, or let's say other taxes to get a references, correct? Or let's say in some different industry which is very niche into that industry, probably you can borrow that concept to apply into this case. So it's not that there's a one set parameter that you can apply.
I would agree, completely agree. And yeah, there could be sometimes challenges when people have worked in Big Four for years and then going to law firm. I don't know how law firm takes it, or whether law firm in India would be willing to take, or would they restrict. But I think now people are flexible in law firm also. They are appreciating the wider experiences, and this could help having operational experience and going on then on litigation side.
Yeah, work on your base first. Once your base is built up, probably you can work in a law firm if you, that law firm has a lot of controversy cases.
Sachin, do you have to add anything?
Well, I think the only additional input I give is that in a law firm, you tend to see a greater blending of international tax and TP. In a Big Four, you tend to get a lot more siloed. So I think it's a matter of where you want to start off. In any event, the best thing perhaps is to have a combination of law firm and Big Four experience, because then you see everything there is to see, and then, as Anil said, you can pick the place that suits you best. But this is just an additional perspective to think, for you to think about.
And even in Big Four, is it like, if I take Indian example, is it specific places the person should opt for? That, okay, say Delhi, in Gurgaon, the cases are more, there is more variety of transaction, or say now even in Bangalore or Mumbai, there are a lot of variety of transaction. Big Four in say other nations might not have that variety of transaction. So what do you think, Suchint, on this?
I think the one area that is extremely specialized is financial services. So that I don't think can be any other place than Mumbai. And then to some extent, maybe oil and gas, which tends to still have a lot of concentration in Delhi. To some extent, there is a little bit of activity in Chennai, but for the most part, it's in Bombay, in Delhi. I think other than that, I wouldn't say that there is that much to be too concerned about. I think you can do TP anywhere. I say FS is too specialized because honestly, the amount of detail and the level of knowledge that one has to have, and of course, the fact is that once you're an FS TP specialist, then there is enough and more work that you never have to scout for work. You'll always get a lot of work coming through. So that's why I would say FS is a bit specialized, and to some extent oil and gas, but I think otherwise you would pretty much get exposure for more generic forms of TP. You will get it anywhere else in India as well.
Yeah, I would agree. Anybody has more questions? Otherwise, we can wind up the session. Anybody has further questions? I don't think we have further questions. Then we can wind up the session. Thanks, Suchin. Thanks, Anil, for comments and insights. Thanks all for joining the session. And feel free to reach out to us in case you have further questions.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thanks, Suchin.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Anil. Thanks, Nupur. Thank you. Bye-bye.